Hey folks, my name is Karthik Devakumar, and I'm a lead to cash expert specializing in Salesforce and pricing capabilities. There's a lot of transformations going on this year, especially with Gen AI and the whole evolutions from Salesforce CPQ to Revenue Cloud. And if you're a visual learner like me, I hope this video on guided selling and index search helps you in your journey as you navigate some of the capabilities in Revenue Cloud. I'll preface with some of my observations and findings with guided selling and Revenue Cloud, but if you're in a rush to get started with Build, I'll put a timestamp in the description and comments. Feel free to head on over there. Real quick disclaimer, these are solely my opinions and observations. They are not associated with my current employer at Slalom or any of my previous employers. Cool, let's get started. So, what is guided selling? If you ask me, I like to look at guided selling as an overall process, right? It's not just about your product selection, it's not just about the widget. Although, of course, that widget, the feature, it helps you get there. But it's more around the enablement steps, the validations, the guardrails that help your users not only select their products faster and more efficiently, but streamline your quoting process, right? A couple of stickies that I've got here. On the left side, you'll see Salesforce CPQ, right? You'll see Revenue Cloud. If you did build a widget in Salesforce CPQ, you're probably familiar with fleshing out quote process records, process inputs, process input conditions. In Revenue Cloud, we're pivoting more to an Omni Studio centric path with assessment questions. And we'll see what that looks like on the build side of the video. Also in Salesforce CPQ, you have the concept of product filters and your standard search when you go to the add product screen. Revenue Cloud, you go to the browse catalog button action that you may be familiar with. You have the capability for index search. So let's say that you don't know the full name of a product, right? You've got a product catalog with really long names for products. You could type in an attribute of the product, a descriptor of the product, anything you have tagged to the product, right? And that will show up. The actual product will show up in your outputs of the refined list. Lastly, and if you've dabbled in pricing procedures, you may know what I'm talking about here is the robustness of the tool, right? The robustness to accommodate a lot more customization, guardrails, and that added layer of AI, right? So you'll see that as well with pricing procedures as, we moved away from price rules, price actions, and whatnot in Salesforce CPQ, but that's for another video. Cool. Anyway, so guided selling and index search, I did hit on some of these, want to hit on them again. So you've got that added tailored search and relevancy, got enhanced user experience. Something that I feel that gets missed when I speak with folks is enables better governance. And what exactly does that mean, right? So yeah, when you instill guided selling, you do have that more efficient product selection process and whatnot. But when you instill it, you're also adding a layer of security. Security in terms of when reps or users are quoting products, they're less prone to making mistakes in the actual product that they should be quoting. And that turns over into increased quote accuracy, which results in a higher conversion rate across your deals, right? So I have some steps here. We're about to get into the build side of the video, but these are high level, some of the steps that we're going to walk through as we go into build. Some prereqs here is you do have your Revenue Cloud org set up. You do have your product catalog, defined and whatnot. You're really coming here to add that added capability of guided selling within Revenue Cloud. I do highly suggest checking out Cloud Update. He has a really cool video on getting your Revenue Cloud org set up. He has a lot of really cool videos. He's helped me in my journey as well. Really cool guy to check out as well. Cool, so key areas for setup. First things first, we're gonna make sure that we've got Omni Studio setup installed. Make sure we turn on some of the lights in terms of settings that pertain to guided selling. Then we'll get into rebuild index search. I know you're probably thinking rebuild, I haven't built anything yet. Don't worry, you'll see what that looks like in the system. Then create assessment questions and branching. So this is where we'll actually define what are the prompts, what are the questions that we're going to pose to our users as they're going through the product selection process. And then infusing that into Omni Studio, and then we'll reiterate as needed as we get feedback and tweak as we like our questions, right? Cool. So without further ado, let's get into the system. So the first thing you'll do, right, as we mentioned, and if you looked at the preface of the video, is we'll make sure that we've got Omni Studio installed. If you don't have it installed, I'll put a link in the description. It's real quick, takes like a few minutes. just ensure that you can go to install packages, double check that you have it or not. You also want to be able to see an app launcher. Can you see the Omni Studio app, right? So we've got it pre-installed here. Next thing we'll do is go to Omni Studio settings. I'll pause here real quick. Just ensure that your settings match the screen here. They should by default, I believe, be preset to these values. So hopefully you don't have to change anything. But here it is. Okay, we've got some more lights to turn on. So back in setup, in the quick search, type in Discovery Framework. Under Discovery Framework, you'll see General Settings. And we want to have Discovery Framework turned on, import or export, and sample templates. Okay, so real quick, while we're here under sample templates, you'll see that there's a link. Go ahead and click that link for Discovery Framework sample template page. It should take you to this screen where it gives you the guided product selection template. Go ahead and click deploy, refresh until you see that status completed. But basically what this is, is this is the integration template that you'll use when you create your Omni Studio path later in this video to basically synchronize what your questions are with your actual product catalog. So guided selling knows to refine the results. Okay, so we've got this done. If you want to double check, you should. So let's say you deployed this you could double check, go to Omni Studio, and you want to make sure you've got this product guided selection integration, This is going to be a piece of the puzzle later. Let's go back. So we're back in setup. Still got some more settings to fulfill. So let's type in product discovery settings. Yeah, so product discovery settings. So you'll scroll down. Hopefully most of this stuff is filled out from your context definitions, product setup and whatnot. But right under search settings, you'll see a few options, So we want to make sure that we enable use index data for product listing and search. Okay, and then also turn on guided product selection down here. So basically what this is going to do is, just like we talked about in the preface, guided selling within Revenue Cloud drives off of the index search. So what this is doing is saying, hey, tell guided selling to look at my index search when it's outputting results. Okay, and then you'll see the option there for create full index. So I'll pause here real quick, just help you catch up if you're waiting or not. So before we get into create full index, I do want to show you guys something. So this is something that I've done, for this enablement video. Feel free to use any fields that may be pertinent to your use case. But what I've done, is I've created 2 pick list fields on the product to record. And they're called guided selling class and core or accessory. And you can probably tell what they mean. Core or accessory, is this a core product? Is it an accessory product? Guided selling class, I basically have different values for that, whether it's a USB, it's a mouse, printer, yada yada yada. But for this product, USB-C multi-port adapter hub, I've got it as an accessory since it's a USB, and then the class of the accessory, I've got it as a USB. This will make more sense as we get further into the video. You're not confined. You don't have to use new pick list values or new fields on the product to record. You can always use your product family. You could use, honestly, any attributes, any descriptor fields on the product to record. Okay, so these are the 2 fields that we'll index search off of. And if we go back to our settings under product discovery, product discovery settings, go ahead and click create full index. So I've already created the index. So I believe the first time you do it, you should have a button to create full index or rebuild index. So go ahead and click that. Do a full rebuild. If it doesn't prompt you to do that, it might already be set up for you. So go ahead to the second tab here for Manage Field and Attributes. And this is the tab right where you actually define your index search. So here you'll see that I'm index searching off of my product name. If someone types in the product name, of course they should be able to see the product, right? I'm indexing off of the guided selling class and core accessory pick list fields that we just saw on the product 2 record for that USB-C. So if they type in accessory, that USB-C product that we looked at is going to show up. If they type in USB, that USB-C specific product that we looked at will show up along with any other USBs if I have other USBs in the product catalog, right? So you might have the question, yo, what's searchable, what's filterable? So let's take a quick look at that. So here I've got, I've only got them searchable, but filterable, right? If we put our CPQ hat on real quick, that's really going to give you the option to filter off of that field. So for example, right, if we have core accessory, and there will be a filter when you go to the browse catalog action on your quote, there will be a filter for core accessory, and then you can filter by core products, you can filter by accessory products, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. We'll keep the searchable for now. Yeah, and then your index settings, just make sure you've got the localization correct. For me, it's English. Okay. Cool. So we've got a lot of the groundwork done here. If we go to our app launcher and then go ahead and type product catalog management, and then go to home. You scroll all the way down that bottom section there for guided product selection. You should see this. You got a few things here. So first thing we're going to look at is assessment questions. This is where we actually design what are the questions that we're posing to our users as they navigate guided selling and the branching associated with it, right? Okay, now we are in our assessment questions. This is a list view of questions that I've already created. We'll go ahead and create one together. But before we get into this, let's go back to our preface, right? So with assessment questions, it's really what you're posing to your user for them to see as they're going through guided selling. So you have the concept of your parent question that we see here at the top and child questions, which we see here at the bottom. So based on the answer of this parent question, so if I select accessory, then I'm going to be prompted with this child question. I don't believe you can go another layer deep. If you guys find otherwise, feel free to leave it in the comments. But for example, if you had what type of accessory you selected USB, what type of USB, couldn't nest 3 layers. Should be a max of 2 from what I've seen. Okay, so this is what we'll use for our enablement session. Okay, so we'll go back here. I've already got, if we focus in on the 2 I've got checked, right? These are what I've got active and done. Immediately you'll notice that there's no related question up here. Why? Because this is a parent question. This is really a lookup to your parent to kind of join them together, to make them related, right? So you're only going to have this populated on your child question. Okay, so let's create one new. Let's see what we got to do, right? The name, you could have it, I believe whatever you'd like. I usually like to do the question, what type of or let me say, is it core or accessory, right? So, and then so developer name, and then we focus on what's the data type. These are just the different data types that you can have your outputs as. I love using radio buttons. Gives you that concept of options. Category by default, system gives you demographic, financial. From what I've seen, this doesn't impact the functionality of your flow. it may make more sense to have another picklist value here as product category. You can add that if you like. We'll just go ahead with demographic. And then since this is a parent question, is it core or accessory? I'm going to leave this blank. Okay. Then we can ignore that. Go ahead, click save. And then under related of the assessment question, you should have an option there for assessment question versions. So click new. Okay, and then this is it, C or A, and question text. This is where you really want to make sure you actually have the question. So names and whatnot, I don't believe it's important to have the actual question, but you want to actually have the question text, the question within the question text. Description, fill that if you'd like. Response values, this is important. So this is going to be your actual answers, right, that you're going to provide to your user. Help text, fill it in if you like, etc. And then go ahead and click active. So I'm not going to activate this just because I already have, the questions pre-made, pre-done. But I did want to show you what's the path in creating an assessment question. The only difference for your child question, so let's say, for the next question that you want to prompt, right, what type of accessory? The only difference there is you're going to populate the related question to look up to the parent question. Okay, so let me go back. Assessment questions, so you'll see that's there. These, however, are the two that we're going to use. My parent question, child question for the video. Okay, so we've got that done. Next thing you'll do is you go back home on the product catalog management, and we wrapped up here. Let's go ahead and create a form. Okay, so we're creating a form right now. Go ahead and click guided product selection, and at the top, this name, right, is going to be the name that's prompted to the user when they're selecting products and they click guide me to initiate guided selling, right? So you can name that guided selling path or whatever prompt you want to pose to your user. You'll see these automatically populated just because they were saved values, but the type and subtype don't impact functionality, so feel free to add any descriptor words. I've got guided selling and product selection, and then mine's going to be English. And then here, as far as dragging questions, we're only worried about our parent question. The child questions will pull in with their parent question. So go ahead and look for your parent question. So I've got my parent question there. Let's change this to step 1. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and build an omni script. It's going to take us to this page, and right there, right, you'll see your parent question, your child question. Let's go ahead and separate those. I just dragged and dropped a step. Drag this child question down here, and we don't need this save, because if you recall earlier in the video, we deployed that template, right, for product selection integration. We want that here. So let's go ahead and delete this, and you'll find it on the sidebar here, product guided selection integration, right? So let's put that at the bottom. This is what's going to mesh together, our prompts or questions with the actual product catalog. Okay, so step 2, you also have the opportunity for conditional view. So we only want to show this question in the event the user selects accessory here. If they select core, we don't want to prompt them with step 2, right? So we'll click the question, is your product core accessory? And then, so if they select accessory, right, we've got that there. So let's preview. Okay, is your product core or accessory? Accessory. This save for later, we don't need that. Let's remove it. So we'll remove it later. Let's click next. And then we've prompted to step 2, what type of accessory? USB. We also got save for later here. Let's remove this. Okay, let's go back to design. If I click this, you'll see there's a flag for allow save for later. Let's uncheck that, and we'll do the same thing on step 2, right? Uncheck allow save for later. Okay, so we've got our questions, our flow done. Let's go ahead and activate it. Okay, it's called guided selling, and the way we test this out is, as you probably imagined, is, let me go back to, let's go to a quote, right? So I've got a quote pulled up. It's an empty quote, no lines. Let me just refresh this tab real quick. Okay, we'll click browse catalog. I've got a few catalogs here, but click hardware. And then, so you'll see here, right, we're on the all products category. We've got a few stuff here, right? We've got desktops, we've got one mouse, got that USB-C, right? That product 2 record that we looked at earlier. And then we've got like a couple of printers, or printer bundle, printer. Yeah. So in order to initiate guided selling, there's a button here at the top, Guide Me. You'll click that. And this is the name of the Omni script that we created. If you recall, we named it Guided Selling Path. Click Start. And here's our questions. It's your product, core, or accessory. Accessory. And USB. Voila. We've got our USB-C. Let's try it again on something else. Let's do core. So now it's showing me all core products. So like your desktop, laptop, these are things I've tagged as core. So that's why it's showing it. And you'll even see that at the top, right? What it's indexing on, core. Let's do one more. Accessory. Printer. Yeah. Sweet. So, and again, right, this is given the notion that I went to the product 2 record and I've updated the pick list value for guided selling class to be printer, and the core accessory to be accessory for those respective products that you're seeing, right? So I hope this helps. If there's any findings you guys have, I'm really curious to hear more. We're all learning this here, so feel free to add any suggestions, findings that you have in the comments. Hope to hear from you soon.